Last episode, you guys saw us center up the rear axle. Now we've got it out of the car again. Stay tuned to find out why. Check out the moose. So there's a couple of reasons why we've pulled this axle out again. We didn't want to, believe me, but it's a job that has to be done. First of all, it's in primered condition, and some of these brackets that we welded on are starting to show some surface rust because I never went back and re-primered them. So we're gonna pretty this whole thing up with a coat of POR 15 once we're done tearing it down. The reason we're tearing it down is it's an old axle. It's out of a mid-80s Corolla, and who knows what kind of condition it's in. But more importantly, I don't think it has a limited slip differential. I thought when I bought it that it was out of a GTS with a limited slip. Done some testing though, and it doesn't appear to be a limited slip, so I want to pop that out and have a look at what diff's in there and figure out what diff I can fit in there. And the last, but probably most important issue with these Corolla rear ends is that they come in two flavors with different spline counts on the actual axle shafts. So we're going to pull the axle shaft out, do a spline count, and we'll know if we've got a Zenki or a Kouki or like an early first gen or late first gen. It's not first gen, is it? Whether it's an early or late A86 rear axle. That'll then tell us what diff I need to order based on that spline count. And if I want, I can upgrade to stronger axles with the right spline count on it. We can build a hybrid axle with new different spline count axles and a diff that goes with those. So there's lots of things we can do here, but before we can figure out what those things are, we've got to blow it up, take it apart. And that can mean only one thing. It's time for the moose.
Yeah.
Let's get him in there.
Actually, it's not that bad, actually.
It doesn't look bad. No, it really doesn't. That looks pretty fresh.
Well, it's relatively clean anyways.
Yeah.
It smells skanky. Either, it's not a total skank.
Gear oil always smells a little skanky, so that's not terrible.
No, I've seen worse.
All right, well, let's let that drain, and then we can move on to pulling the axles and the diff cover off.
Yeah.
Okay. So, see if you can pop that sucker out of there.
Here we go. I don't know, maybe doesn't seem to want to move.
Much violence occurred to get this thing out of the housing, eh, Moose?
Yeah, you see, she's
rusty.
She got rusted in there, so
yeah.
What normally is some light, gentle taps required a full whale swing.
Yes. Moose's considerable bulk was behind this hammer. Anyway, we'll show you the other side just in case it gets entertaining. Okay, I'll rotate the axle here. Okay. Rotate this some more. There she goes. So, the internet told us some cool things about how to tell if it's a Zenki or a Kouki.
One of the things was the rings on the
end of the drive shaft here, the end of the splines. You can see if there's like a concentric circle pattern in it, which there appears to be, which means it's a Zenki. You can see on the left, it has sort of like a concentric pattern around it, which is the Zenki, and then the one on the right sort of has like curved lines that run across it, and that's the Kouki style. All right, Moose, with the axles out, I think we can pull the diff out, right?
That's in theory, yeah.
Top nut off. Pinion nut. And oh yeah, we gotta zap off these guys. Looks like you've loosened a few already. She might fall right out of there on your lap, but
it's kind of the plan. Okay. Yeah, open diff.
Oh yeah. With a quick count of the teeth on the ring gear and on the pinion gear, we could also determine that this is a 4.4 final drive. 44 teeth on the ring gear, 10 teeth on the pinion gear. You do the math. Now it was time to degrease and prep the axle and a few other pieces for a coating of POR 15. This is a heavy-duty, rust-preventing coating which is impenetrable to all natural forces. It's kind of like powder coating, except you can brush it on, so even a simpleton like me can put a couple of coats on it in my home garage, and in the end, you've got a rear axle that not even Moose could damage. Oh, that's refreshing, TT. Speaking of refreshing, we're no longer in my garage. We've come to NV Auto because we need some specialized tools, maybe some adult supervision too while we build this diff. Easy to tear it apart at home, but we need some intervention maybe while we do the building. You'll see a few guest stars here, but still plenty more moose to come. The diff in our A86 rear end is an open diff, which is not great for performance or skids or any of that stuff. After doing some homework, I decided I wanted to go with a 1.5-way clutch type, which is really designed more for like grip style rather than drifting. The drift guys seem to like their 2-way diffs. I like my 1.5-way diffs, and Tomei happens to make one specifically for this early A86 rear end, the Zenki rear end with our smaller diameter axles. So this will drop right in this housing. We're going to show you how to do that. And to do that, I ordered a rebuild kit from our friends at Battle Garage. So they sell a full rebuild kit for the diff. They also sell a rebuild kit for the axles with new bearings and all that good stuff. So we'll show you how to rebuild the axles while we're at it.
I just cracked these, the 2 cap nuts a bit loose. They're now finger tight. Take pressure off the threads on this, I'm not sure what you call it, bearing, retaining ring gear,
thingy,
threaded thingy.
Yeah.
And Toyota does make a special tool for it, but I can break it free with a wrench or a pair of needle nose. Let's spin it out.
Okay. So now you can take the cap off. Do the same on the other side, and we'll have ourselves a free diff.
That is, well, a loose diff.
A loose diff. And a free diff.
A diff that's been freed.
Yes.
But it's not free physically.
Well,
Or monetarily.
At this point, it's worth nothing to me, so you could say it's free.
I'll grant you that today.
Ooh, look at that. There she is. Little old open diff. Fancy new clutch type LSD. I think we have a winner here. It's this fancy new guy. What's it called? A technical tracks? Is that what it's called, PT?
Technical Tracks Advanced,
Advanced.
1.5-way. I've run them on the 240, and they are pretty fantastic.
You are our
They
Tomei expert.
Grip, grab, pull you out of the corners.
Yeah, actually, we run one in the FRS too, don't we?
That we do, yeah.
It's on Targa, Newfoundland.
I know.
It's done on Ontario 1500.
I like them.
Where is this going to take us? While Moose figures out how to get the ring gear off our old diff, Pete is going to press on the new coil bearings from Battle Garage.
Let's go.
Good.
All right.
One side done. One to
Pro
go.
tip, if this stops spinning, then you know you're putting pressure on it and wrecking it.
Okay.
So make sure that it always spins.
He's like a cobbler. An old Italian.
This is almost not
shoemaker.
even moose-like. You
I
should
know.
be smashing this
I know.
up. I've never seen this side of moose.
You should be using a sledgehammer on this. An air chisel. Something violent.
It did say use a non-marrying
Like a brass hammer.
brass
or
hammer, but
a dead
I
blow.
couldn't find one, so I figured I'd just be delicate.
They do have those around here, but oh, look at that.
Look at that.
Moose getting the job done without breaking anything.
Yeah.
I love it.
Now is this
Open
going to be a
diff.
slip fit?
Open diff.
Ooh, creepy. Oh man, so much happening here. Just dropping it on there.
Oh, no, well, see, I don't think it's going to
I think you
just
just
drop on there.
No, I think you
we're
have to
gonna
warm it. Like they do in the manual say you have to warm it.
Well, then, that's something about like hold that down. Oh yeah, I guess.
The shop manual says to put this ring gear in like a hot oil bath to warm it up, but you don't have a hot oil bath here.
Yo,
So we are giving it the other option.
you put me on video doing this?
This is Dove, everyone, from NV Auto,
No, this is a bad idea. Don't,
heating up this ring gear in a way that is not in the service manual.
yeah, don't do it this way.
Yeah, Dev, do you think this is a good idea?
No, we're gonna find out.
You feel it through the
Pretty
glove?
warm, yeah.
Yeah?
I'm going to have finite amount of time with these gloves.
Yeah, you don't want to be holding that too long.
Yeah.
So this is a 3-man operation we got going here.
No, it's. I'm pretty sure it's too hot now.
We got
Are you
the
ready?
oven.
Look at the
Too
glove.
hot?
We got the man with the leather gloves who's going to hold the ring.
Look at the glove.
We got Moose with the silky smooth work gloves that are 2 sizes too small.
Freaking OJ over here.
If the glove does not fit, you must acquit. You're going to put the nuts in, or the bolts in, sorry, while Pete
Oh.
has the nuts to hold the
Hurry.
ring. Here we go. On your
What's
mark,
happening?
get set, go.
Get it in there, Moose. Actually, there's not that
worked
much.
extremely well. I gotta say, that's impressive.
Any other problems you need
There
to
was no
solve?
urgency. I thought there would be a lot more urgency. Okay, my gloves are starting to get hot. Moose, tighten one down for me, please.
Look at him go.
No, like with the gun, Moose.
Oh, he's going hard.
They're getting hot.
Hard.
All right,
Look at that.
we got her done.
Good job, team.
We've moved on to the Pinion here.
So you're gonna
We're
have
trying to
lift it
knock
while
that race out.
while I bash it.
I'm gonna have to hold it.
Yeah.
Which
I
way?
want-
Upside
yeah,
down
this
like
way,
this?
yeah.
While you bash?
Yeah. Lift it up.
Oh yeah, I see what you're saying.
You just show them that. You see how they have these two grooves here, these openings? That's where I put the extension so I could smack them without damaging the
yeah.
actual housing.
Nice.
And actually now we have to knock this one out here.
Okay.
And that's gonna, and then replace the bearings on the Pinion.
Gotcha.
There we are. Now, here's another pro tip that Master Nam just taught me. And what we did is we reused the old bearing, and that's probably on there a little bit, so I'm gonna have to knock it off. But he cut the outer side of it with the balls, or I guess these aren't balls, they're little cylinders, but he cut that off, and then we use that other piece here to press it on.
Yeah,
so
it's a
that way
perfect
it's a
size
perfect
tool.
size fit,
Yeah.
and you're not gonna wreck the old bearing. So
Awesome.
another good tip. And now, I'm gonna do the moose tap. The tappy tap, tap, tap. And yet another pressed item
Yep.
with the help of Nam here.
This is
You
the
can see-
inner race for the pinion
Yeah.
gear bearings.
See our setup, what we did is we used the old one once again, stacked it up, pressed it down, and it is in there like a champ. With our bearing pressed onto our Pinion, now comes the fun part of installing our spacer and figuring out proper preload on this. And usually you would use the factory spacer, which is a crush style. And the problem with this is after time, it slowly crushes more and more, which creates more play. But Weir Performance offers this one here, which is not a crush type. So it comes with a bunch of little, I can't open them up here. I don't know if you can see these, but
stack, yeah.
shims there. And we need to figure out how many to use. So what we're gonna do is, we have hogged out our old bearing here, and it slides on like this. And now we're gonna put this entire assembly together, check the tolerances, and figure out which one we need to use. All right. Now we can assemble everything here.
And we don't actually have to put the diff in the housing here. We just need to put the pinion in.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so no need to put the diff in yet. We
Well,
can check
that's good to know.
preload without the diff in there to begin with, but we do need that flange on there.
A nut.
Blast that on there, and then we can start checking preload and
A lot of slop here.
all
DP.
kinds of good stuff on here. Don't worry, we like it sloppy here, PT.
All that play was because the shims.
Too many
There were too many of them.
Yep.
So we've removed these now, and I can already tell just by the initial play that there's going to be less of it. Oh, it feels tight. I left 2 shims in there, so I think that's like 20 thou, right, Dave?
Yep.
Oops. Hold on, before I put that on, almost forgot this. Drop it in. And it's a matter of going through this process over and over now until we kind of get to where we need to be.
Yeah, the instructions want us to get it to like 10 thou and then put a dial indicator on it and measure it. So we'll do that in a second.
We figured out that we only need 1 shim down here. And that means it's coming together for the final time. And
And that means
we're
it's time for
lubing,
the seal
yeah,
and
we're
lubing
lubing
up
the
bearings
bearings.
a bit.
There's a lot going on here,
There's
DP.
a lot going on here.
There's people welding
Bros from
titanium
Vibrant over here, or
Well, I typically
these guys over here,
fill
they just
the
love to
side.
chat.
these two guys over here are just like
Talking business.
the fluffers back here, desk jockeys doing their thing.
Tack it again.
We got it all going
Yapping
on.
away.
We got the Death Traps owner over here, Nico Paparazzi living the dream. It's a party in here.
It certainly is. All right, so that's there. Now we need to put our seal on.
Yes, we do need a seal.
Don't forget this.
That's
If you
important.
forget this, people, you're going to be in big trouble.
One messy diff on
Yeah.
your hands.
So, we've got a nice little tool here. I'm going to push this in. Give it a couple little taps.
Tap, tap, tap.
Tappa, tappa, tappa.
Well, after fiddling around, trying to set the pinion preload with a click type torque wrench and really not knowing if we're in the ballpark or not, I went and borrowed this dial type inch-pounds torque wrench from my buddy Theo, which would let us do the job right. If this was the Mustang, we just would have put it in there and sent it because it's a Mustang, but this is my forever car. This is Connie I'm talking about. I want to do it right. So borrowed the tool, and as you can see over here, with the shim we had in there, the preload was only at 5 inch-pounds. And now when I do it, you can see it spikes up to 15 initially, but what we want it to measure is the dragging torque. And as I go around there, you can see I'm right at 10 inch-pounds, very consistently. So the spec for the Weir solid spacer is 13 to 15. I'm now at 15 thou on the shim. I gotta go down another thou. So I'm gonna go down to 14 thou, because I know when I went down a thou before that I added 5 inch-pounds here. So that should get me into spec. Let's find out. This is getting exciting. It's a moment of truth. I did some shimming, and it's only, you can see as I move it smoothly, it's right around 13, 14, 15, which is what you want. The spec is 13 to 15. We're in spec, which means we can move on to putting the diff in the housing, start setting our backlash, and pray to God that the backlash is good enough that we don't have to do this mess again.
I noticed, Dave, that it's only you here. I don't see Moose.
Yes.
No Moose.
No Moose, no Pete.
No Pete. What's going on?
This may have dragged on a day longer or 2 days longer than we planned. And everyone else has other stuff to do, but I wanted to get the right tool and try to fix the problem that we were having yesterday where we just couldn't get good readings and it wasn't instilling confidence that I was going to put my brand new Tomei diff in here and not blow it up. So I'm trying to do it right for a change instead of just like rushing it. Because Vin needs company in here too, right?
For sure.
So I've got my bearings and caps on here. I'm gonna drop this in here, hopefully without taking a finger off. You can only go in one way for the gears to engage properly with the pinion. So I'll put this in here as gently as I can. All right, I think that's sitting in the right position. So now we gotta use these fancy end caps, as they call them, which as you can see are threaded. And they go into these threaded ends. And they actually rotate and let you adjust the backlash. So you're meant just to sort of drop them in here, make sure they're threaded in cleanly, because you don't want to cross thread these, do you, Doug?
You know the saying, better cross threads than no threads.
And these do look like they're sitting in nice. So now I can put on my caps, which we marked, or Moose marked earlier, so they can only go on one way. And then I can tighten these down and start playing with backlash with the old rotation of these end caps.
I'm going to say this is pretty close.
I think it's pretty much in spec. So.
It is. It's 100% in spec.
Yeah. So now we can torque the.
Yeah, we can torque the end cap bolts down.
Yeah. And then we'll check the tooth engagement with some paint.
Pin spinning tube, and I'm using Permatex Prussian Blue. We don't have any of the yellow marking compound that you typically use on ring gears to check ring engagement. The internet told me to use this stuff, and I must admit it works pretty good. So I brushed it on a few sections of gears here, I ran it through the pinion gear, just run it through the pinion, and you can see that I've actually got surprisingly good engagement. I'm pretty happy with the amount of Prussian blue that's been removed from like the center face of the gear. So that means we're pretty much in the middle of where you want to be. You know, if it's too high or too low or too much of the heel, then you're out of spec. But from what I'm seeing here, we've got a good amount of contact right in the middle, so I'm calling it a win, Internet. You can zoom in afterwards if you want and chirp me about it in the comment section. I know you do that anyway, but it doesn't matter. This is a win for me. Maybe even consider letting me have this win. I'd really appreciate it. It would mean a lot to me. Anyway, I think we're done with this diff assembly. We're not going to bore you with putting it into the axle. We'll bore you with that in another episode. So we're going to call this episode done. I want to thank Enviado for letting me invade their shop for a few days and use all their fancy tools and offering me moral support and encouragement when Pete and Moose wouldn't. Thank you, Enviado. Thank you, Max, for letting me use your inch-pounds dial torque wrench. I appreciate it. But wait, there's more. I'm so pumped about the job I just did building that diff. We got 5 of these bags from Tomei when they sent us the diff. We were like, what's this about? So we looked inside and there's all kinds of goodies. We got a license plate frame, JDM. We got a keychain with a tire pressure gauge on it. Holy smokes, I might have to keep one of those for myself. We've got 5 of these bags to give away. What else do we have in here? We've got a mouse pad. My God, I am keeping one of these packages for myself. We have 4 of these bags to give away. What else do we have in here? A pen, Tomei powered pen. It probably adds 5 horsepower to your check writing ability, and a lanyard. So, the 4 or maybe the 5 best comments, that I'll just pick because I have the power, people. I have the power to pick a winner. Make me laugh, make me cry, do whatever you want to do. I'm going to pick 5 comments at random, and I'll contact you via YouTube's contacting system, I guess. I'm sure I'll comment on your comment, tell you to email me, and I'll ship one of these out to you. So, thanks again, Tomei Power, for hooking us up with these gift bags. And please entertain us with your comments. We'll be watching.